All right, let's talk about Lowe's. They just dropped their third quarter earnings, and on the surface, things look pretty steady. But when you dig in just a little bit, you find this huge strategic bet they're making while trying to navigate a pretty tricky economy. So let's break it all down.
So the CEO, Marvin Ellison, he pretty much lays it all out for us right here in this quote. He's hitting on two really big things. One, they're hanging tough even with economic headwinds. And two, they're making a massive, deliberate pivot towards their professional customers, the pros.
And here it is, the headline number everyone looks for first. Comparable sales. They were up. That's a win. But look at that, just 0.4%. You know, it's positive, sure, but it's a razor-thin margin. And it tells you there's a much more interesting story hiding underneath. So how in the world did Lowe's land on that tiny number? Well, the answer isn't so simple, and it actually reveals a ton about the challenges they're facing and the strategy they're using to fight back.
You see, that small positive number is actually hiding a total 3-month roller coaster. The quarter kicked off really strong, up 2.5% in August. Then it cooled down in September, and by October, boom, it dropped into negative territory. This up and down ride is really key to understanding the whole quarter.
So what's actually going on inside the numbers? Well, what's behind that 0.4% figure is this fascinating battle between two trends that are pulling in completely opposite directions.
And here is that battle in action. It's like a classic tug of war. On one side, you've got fewer people actually coming into the store and buying things. Transactions were down 3%. But on the other side, the folks who did come in were spending more money. The average ticket size jumped up 3.4%, which was just enough to win the tug of war.
That jump in spending pushed the average purchase to over $106, and this was absolutely crucial. That bigger basket size was literally the only thing that canceled out the drop in foot traffic and nudged the final sales number into the positive. This chart tells the story perfectly. It shows you exactly where that extra spending came from. Look at this. Sales of smaller, everyday items, the stuff under $100, that was down. The growth was 100% driven by the big stuff, those purchases over $500. That category jumped almost 3%.
So, and this is the most important part, this shift towards bigger purchases is no accident. It is absolutely the result of a deliberate, company-wide strategy to go after a very specific and very valuable type of customer.
It's all part of what they call their total home strategy. And what's number one on that list? Drive pro penetration. That's just a businessy way of saying they are aggressively going after professional contractors, the builders, the people who are making those big ticket buys.
And they are not messing around. They are making some massive moves. The biggest one this quarter was sealing the deal to buy a company called Foundation Building Materials, or FBM. FBM is a huge distributor for construction pros, so for Lowe's, this is an absolute game changer. And this was not a small purchase. We're talking $8.8 billion to bring FBM on board. You don't spend that kind of money on a whim. A price tag like that sends one crystal clear message. Lowe's is all in on becoming the #1 spot for the pro customer. But hey, this strategy isn't just about buying up other companies. It's also about modernizing how they do business, using technology to back up their focus on the pros and really to serve every customer better. A huge piece of this puzzle is what they're doing online. Digital sales skyrocketed by over 11% this quarter. And that's so important, right? Because it helps the DIY weekend warrior who just wants convenience. And it helps the pro who needs to place a huge, complicated order without wasting time.
Now, this is pretty cool. Lowe's is also leaning hard into some really cutting-edge tech. They even got a shout-out from OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, for how much they're using artificial intelligence. This isn't just a shiny object. It's a real tool they're using to make everything work better, from complex supply chains for pros to personalized help for DIYers.
And finally, they're focused on keeping customers coming back. They're building out what they call a loyalty ecosystem. That basically means they're creating new rewards programs that are specifically designed for two totally different groups, the casual DIY shopper and the high-volume pro customer. So, after this quarter of total contradictions, fewer shoppers but bigger spending, a soft month but a gigantic acquisition, what does the road ahead actually look like for Lowe's?
Well, here's what they're telling Wall Street. Because of that big FBM acquisition, they've actually bumped up their total sales forecast to $86 billion. But, and this is a big but, they've walked back their expectations for their existing stores.
They're now saying comparable sales will be flat for the year, which is down from their earlier guess of flat to up 1%.
And all of this leaves us with the big, lingering question. Lowe's is making this massive, incredibly expensive bet on the professional customer. And they're doing it, in their own words, in an uncertain macroeconomic environment. So is this huge pivot going to be the foundation for amazing future growth? Or is a shaky economy going to pull the rug out from under their new blueprint? I guess that's what we'll all be watching.